Hello again, everyone, and welcome to the show that everyone's talking about, Exciting Episcopalians. Today we have one of the most exciting Episcopalians I've ever seen. Alice Moisen joins us. How you doing, Alice?
I'm doing just fine, Bill.
You are very involved in Trinity Episcopal Church. Have you noticed?
No,
Oh, okay. Why? Because it's so much fun?
it is fun.
Yep.
It is fun, and the people are fun.
What do you do around here?
I'm on the altar guild, and then I do whatever comes up.
What does the Altar Guild do?
The altar guild makes sure that everything's set up for the services, that the priest has wine and wafers, and all the readings are in the right places so that the various readers can find them and read them,
Yeah.
and make sure the candles have oils that they actually burn.
Yeah, that's a
Yeah.
good idea. And we're purple right now.
That's Lent.
Lent.
Lent is purple, and right now we've been using Lent also for purple also for Advent, but we're going to switch to blue.
Ooh, who makes that decision?
It's standard
Yeah.
as far as the purple for Advent, white for Easter.
Yeah.
That's kind of set up by the Episcopal Church. The blue-purple thing for Advent is an individual choice by the church, I guess.
Yeah.
And money comes into it
Okay.
because we have to buy the blue.
Okay.
But we have our new parishioner who is making them for us.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That always happens here.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Things happen.
Yeah. Amazing. So, where did you grow up?
Kennebunkport, Maine.
Kennebunkport, Maine. I've been there.
Well, of course you have.
Yes. And where'd you go to school? Did you go to Kennebunk High?
Kennebunk High,
Yeah.
class of 63.
No kidding. What were you doing for fun in 61, 62, and 63? Were you
I was-
singing in the choir?
No,
No.
I was in the band,
What'd you play?
flute.
No kidding.
I was the yearbook editor. I was on the
Oh.
freshman dance committee, the sophomore dance committee, the prom committee.
Wow.
Um,
Who did you have a band at your prom? Or did you have a DJ?
I don't really remember.
Okay. Okay.
Probably a DJ, but I
Yeah. See, I was kind of in the band era. After the Beatles, there were like 500 bands on my street.
Yeah.
And we'd hire the Rustic Overtones or something to come play the prom, yeah.
yeah, I don't really, I went to the prom. My father got me a date
Really?
the afternoon of the prom.
No kidding.
Fortunately, we were able to find a dress in the archives.
Yeah?
So
Yeah.
it was a guy who worked for us.
Okay.
Yeah, he said, "John, you're going to take my daughter to the prom." Okay.
All right. Sounds good.
Well-
I'll go no farther. Let's see. And then what happened? You graduated from high school.
I graduated from high school. I went to Michigan State University.
Now, why Michigan State? That's not an odd choice, but you know what I mean. It's not it's not
Well-
Nebraska. It could have been. I don't know.
I could have probably gone to any college in the country I wanted to,
Yeah.
because I had really good grades. And
Really good grades.
really good grades.
How good?
Valedictorian.
You were valedictorian of your high school. I almost missed that. I'm glad I asked that insightful question. You were valedictorian of the class of 63.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
by 0.02%.
No kidding.
That was me and the principal's daughter.
Oh, no kidding. But that's big if you got by the principal's daughter, because that's not often done, I think.
But I mean, it was pure grades.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yes.
Cool.
And I was a merit scholar.
Wow. National Merit
So-
Scholar.
And Michigan State was recruiting merit scholars.
Ah.
They actually had more merit scholars in my year than Harvard.
Oh, no kidding.
And Harvard.
Yeah, but Harvard then had more rich kids, so.
Yeah. and that was the problem with the merit scholar, is that merit scholarship. If you took the merit scholarship, you could take no other.
Oh, okay.
So that kind of limits.
Was it for a lot?
$1,500.
How much was that in 64?
It was enough to pay for my It was not that, and they allowed you $125 a year, which Michigan State gave me.
Yeah.
That paid for my tuition and room and board
$1,625 a year
a year.
paid your tuition at Michigan State. Yeah.
Yeah.
What
which,
did you?
Which was cheaper than the University of Maine.
No kidding. What did you study?
Anthropology,
Anthro. Why?
because I could.
Yeah.
I mean, in
was
all
easy?
seriousness, no, it wasn't easy. It was an interest,
Yeah.
and
It's what you're supposed to do in college, right?
well, I didn't want to be a nurse anymore.
Yeah.
I had wanted to be, but then Mom left me home with 4 sick siblings, and I said, no, I'm not doing that. I didn't want to be a teacher.
Yeah.
And I couldn't type and take shorthand, so I
Yeah.
didn't want to be a secretary. So I said, fine, I'd like to be National Geographic, so I think I'll be studying anthropology.
It's interesting. Last week I interviewed Bill Gordon, and we were talking about guys our age. We had a draft,
Yep.
and how the guy dealt with it says something about him. And when it doesn't take too long in a conversation, a day or two, when you meet a person, what you do about the draft. I was thinking, if you're going to Michigan State in the fall of '63, Alice went in, and everybody, I'm making this up, all the girls were wearing nice dresses with ribbons, and 4 years later it looked like the Grateful Dead were in town or something.
That transition sort of happened while I was there.
Yeah? What was going on socially having to do with Vietnam and the war and LSD? And
Well, the only poli-sci class I took, Vietnam was just coming on the
Yeah,
radar. It was
yeah.
1963, 1964.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
all that draft number stuff didn't
Exist yet? Yeah.
didn't exist yet. But I had one poli-sci class 3 hours on Tuesday night in the spring. It was awful.
Yeah.
The weather was good.
Yeah.
In Berkey Hall, by the way, where they just blew.
Well, they just had the shooting.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that was the social science building, still
Yeah.
is. He knew what was going on,
Sure.
and he was, and so there were groups of us who knew what was going on. But the NAACP was very active. We had some very important mucky mucks in the NBA, NCAA,
NAACP.
the NAACP.
Yeah.
So we did posters. We marched. I belonged to the Folklore Society.
Did you?
I did.
Yeah. Now,
I bought a guitar.
Yeah?
Let my hair grow.
Yeah.
Um,
Do you have hair down to your waist?
yeah, I could sit on it.
Yeah.
By then, I cut it off right after high school.
Yeah.
Didn't cut it again until I was 30. And so, I could sit on it.
Yeah. And those times were changing, as we say. But from your college years, which paralleled my brother's, in his freshman yearbook, they're standing in front of his fraternity in blue blazers and ties. And when he graduates, he's not in the picture anymore because he's no longer involved with the fraternity. But it really is. It's long hair, beards, mustaches, mod clothing, loud colors. We've all seen it.
I was black and white.
You were?
Pretty much black and white, yeah.
Yeah.
But the fraternities still were a little straight-laced.
They were. They were behind the times.
They
'Cause
were.
basically, conservative guys joining a fraternity.
And Michigan State with 48,000 students, undergrads.
48,000.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was one of the reasons I chose Michigan State. I came through into a small town high school. My brains followed me whether I wanted to or not.
Yeah.
And so I was always judged as the smart kid, and I wanted to be judged as not necessarily a smart kid. So I wanted to go to school that was big enough I could get lost,
Yeah.
far enough from home that I couldn't get home on a weekend.
Yeah.
And Michigan State sent me an application, said, hey, we want you. I filled it out.
Yeah.
The only school I applied to.
How did it work out? I couldn't be more delighted that I went to Michigan State.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Good.
And part of it was I was a merit scholar, so that allowed me to be into honors college.
Mm-hmm.
Honors college, pretty much you have to meet the requirements for your degree. I did take X number of points for the social science. I could do it any way I wanted to. I skipped all the prereqs.
Really?
I jumped right up to the junior and senior level classes, which didn't do much for my grade point, but I had a wonderful time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I was all over the place with my classes.
Yep. Now, I hate to ask this. Did you go to college? Anybody famous?
You know I did.
Who?
Bubba Smith,
Bubba.
George Webster,
Oh, my goodness.
who was Mickey in college.
Mickey Webster.
Mickey Webster.
No kidding.
And there were one of the Gene Washingtons.
Yeah.
There were two Gene Washingtons, and I
yeah.
never could keep them straight.
Yeah. Receivers. Yeah.
Yeah. That was those are the ones I remember right off.
And Michigan State football was good then, right?
We went to the Rose Bowl. I went to the Rose Bowl.
You personally went to the Rose Bowl.
I did.
Who'd you play?
UCLA.
I hate UCLA.
So do we.
How'd you do?
We lost.
Yeah.
But I had seats on the 50-yard line.
Did you really? Yeah. And how long were you out in Pasadena?
5 days.
Yeah.
something like that.
Great, huh?
And it's not like going to Disneyland with 8,000 college students. It was wild.
I bet. And you flew out.
Yes.
Okay, I was hoping you took a train, but
Well, I worked.
we're too young to have taken the train.
Well, no. Well, I worked for the travel agent that arranged all the tours.
Oh, no kidding.
Except that I went with somebody who wasn't a Michigan State student. I wasn't married to him, so I couldn't take a student tour. So I went with another group. But we did train, bus, jet, conventional aircraft. I mean, all kinds of options.
Yeah.
And it was really a very interesting experience.
Yeah.
Gave me some insight into travel planning.
Yeah.
And how they plan, because we gave out luggage tags that matched the plane to the
Yep.
hotel to the
Yep.
and I worked that whole from the time that we knew we were going to the Rose Bowl
Yeah.
to the till we went home for Christmas.
Yep.
I worked more than I played. Actually, and that term was my best grade point.
When I was playing sports in season, I got better grades than I was out of season. So, I'd go to school in the fall, I'd play football. I'd get pretty good grades. And then in the winter, I kind of sloughed off. I'd start playing baseball in the spring. And obviously, the answer is my schedule got more disciplined. And,
Yeah. Yeah.
But, so that doesn't surprise me because I needed something to do to.
And I was living off campus at that time, which was in supervised housing, because women under 21 could not be in unsupervised housing.
Yes, okay.
So it was a fair walk
Yeah.
after we closed down
Yeah.
the operation at night and then walk home.
So you graduated from Michigan State and you stayed in Michigan the rest of your life and we never heard of you again. No, that didn't work, did it? No.
No, it didn't work. When I graduated from Michigan State, I actually had a job with Stouffer Foods,
Oh, no kidding.
and their home office was in Chicago.
Yeah.
I graduated off cycle because what would have been my fourth year, my scholarship was cut because they reevaluated every year.
Yeah.
And for the first 3 years, I got the max. And then Dad had the audacity to buy another building for his hotel.
Yeah.
And they said, if you can do that, then you can pay for your kid. So I went right down to the 125 min.
Oh,
So I crammed a semester and a half or so worth of credits into
Wow.
one semester and finished in
how many hours were you taking?
19.
Jeez. I took 16 for 2 years and it almost killed me. So,
And it's easy if you're doing a 5-credit math,
yeah,
but I didn't do that one.
yeah, right.
I'd already used those up.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, those are my easy A's early on.
Math, interesting.
Yeah.
And so what did you do upon graduation?
Well, I graduated in December.
Yeah,
The job didn't start till March, so I came home.
yeah.
And I woke up one morning after a snowstorm, and you know what Maine is like after a snowstorm.
Beautiful.
Blue sky, white,
Oh.
blue. And I said, I can't go back to the Midwest.
Oh,
I
who could go back to
cannot.
the Midwest?
Well, it's gray. It's gray. Oh, and so I wrote them in letters. I can't do it. I'm sorry, but I just can't. Then I had to find a job.
And what was that?
I ended up at Canal Bank,
Oh, no kidding.
working as a clerk in the trust
Was
department.
Widge running the bank then? No, just say no.
Yes, he was.
Widgery.
Widgery
Guy that
Thomas
went
was
here,
the
Widgery
president.
Thomas,
Yeah.
ran that bank
He
for a
was
long
the-
time.
Yeah, he was the president.
Yeah.
And I started on January 31st, and by April, it was killing me. It was,
Really?
oh, it was
Not a
awful.
banker, okay?
No, I mean, I was working in the trust department. I was typing bills and filing annual reports.
Yeah.
Whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
And fortunately, when I interviewed, I said I might be interested in computers. I had a friend who had done computers in the
Yeah.
Army, and he taught me a little bit about it. And he worked in he worked in Casco Bank.
Yeah.
And he showed me a key punch. I thought, hey, that's pretty cool. So when I interviewed, I said, if something comes up in computer related, I might be interested. So I'd already started interviewing outside to change jobs, and one day they said, tomorrow morning go down at 10 o'clock and take the programmer aptitude test. That was Thursday. Monday I was a programmer.
No kidding. You said something earlier that I want to touch on. I talked a little bit about the draft, and the reason was, when you get out of high school, and I'm gonna oversimplify this, women were nurses and teachers, and
Absolutely.
and I felt my great teachers, Pam actually felt this, were women. because they should have been CEOs and computer programmers, but in the 50s and 40s, they could only be nurses and teachers. So you had, kind of a lot of teachers. The women were great, and the men were gym coaches.
Yep.
And then there were exceptions, and I can't really defend
yeah.
that. But you were even thinking a little bit as you went off to school. It sounded like, I don't want to be a nurse, I don't want to be a teacher, what am I going to be?
I knew I didn't want to be a teacher. I'd had enough teaching with 5 younger siblings.
Yeah, sure.
I had, always did want to be a nurse. I thought the coolest job in the world would be an Air Force operating room nurse.
Yeah.
I thought that would be really cool. But then, as I say, my mother left me home with 4 sick siblings one day, and they were, very sick. And
so here you are 6 years later, a computer programmer. That's a non-traditional woman's job.
it was a non-traditional job then.
Right.
This
But
was,
it's a change for women in the workplace a little bit
yeah,
too, isn't it?
Yeah. And there actually were women doing it. I replaced a woman.
Okay.
And there was another woman hired at the same time that I was from the outside.
Yeah.
So they gave us a programmed learning book.
Yeah.
If you do this and this, you do A, B, and C. If you say C, go to page 5. So we did that, and then we were programmers.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I really have never had any formal training.
So then what happened in your life?
I went to Nissan's Bakery.
Nissan's Bakery, was that down at the foot of Munjoy Hill on Washington Ave?
Yeah.
Yeah? What did you do?
Programming.
Programming.
They had never had a computer.
Yeah.
They had all bookkeeping machines, and they did all their communication between plants because they had 5 plants.
Yep.
With ticker tape.
Yep.
And they were putting in this new 3rd-generation computer, the NCR equivalent of the IBM 360, and we were writing all the code from scratch.
Yay. Yeah.
For that. And I ended up with the payroll system.
Wow.
And it had been started, and the guy that started, unfortunately, was killed in an automobile accident. So they said, okay, you've got to finish this. And by the way, it has to be done by,
Yeah.
So I got to go to Connecticut and spend weeks in Connecticut testing at NCR down there because we didn't even have the computer yet.
Wow.
And the bakery payroll was very complex.
Yeah, I bet.
Because it depended, what you did, each, say, 15 minutes could have been different rates.
Oh, really?
So a guy could work at 5 or 6 different rates in a week. And then overtime was averaged.
Oh, those dogs. Those dogs. I worked at a place, you shouldn't tell these stories, but this is kind of the first draft of history. And honest to goodness, we had what the boss called Chinese overtime. So let's say you were making $100 a week, and that's $2.50 an hour. Mm-hmm. If you worked 50 hours, your pay went down to $2, and for the 10 hours that you worked extra, you got $3 an hour. But if you work 60 hours, that's not a good number. I can't really do it. 66 hours, your pay went down to $1.50 because it divided into 100, and your extra pay was $3.50. So it wasn't worth it to work over. And the guy called. He said, "I want to give you something. I can't pay you overtime. I'm going to give you Chinese overtime." And we all did it for several weeks, and it went away. But the world has changed. No one has ever heard of it, and I've never spoken of it aloud till now. But.
And they paid overtime over 8 hours a day.
Okay.
So all of that had to be figured into the payroll.
So if you worked 10 on Monday but 6 on Tuesday, did you get overtime?
You got overtime for the 10 you worked on
Monday. Yeah,
yes.
that's good. That's good. That favors the worker.
That was a union shop.
Oh, it was. Nissan Bakery was union. In what year are we now? Is 1970?
69, 70.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was bakers and confectioners inside and Teamsters on the road.
Now, what are you doing? Are you going to church during these years? Were you going to church as a kid?
Oh, well, yes, I was. I was baptized at St. Anne's Church in Kennebunkport.
Yeah, that's where the Bushes place is.
The Bushes go. It was a triple. The mom and dad did a 3-for. I was 4, my brother was 2,
yeah.
And my sister was 2 weeks.
Okay.
So Bobby and I basically climbed all over the baptismal font.
Perfect.
Yeah, it was a private service.
Yeah, you ended up baptized anyway, so yeah.
So I ended up baptized. We went to St. Anne's all through my childhood.
Yeah.
we would walk.
Yeah.
And it was half a mile from our house.
Yeah.
So we would walk to church, and then we could come home and go to the beach.
Yeah. Yeah.
We went to morning prayer. And the thing that I always loved was the call out for purity.
Interesting.
It was the first thing that Dean Emerson, and was the guy that was there was the dean from Cleveland, and it was Dean Chester B. Emerson.
Okay.
And he had a great voice.
Yeah.
And he said that color. I just loved it.
Yeah.
And the kids took the collection.
Oh.
So it was a fight when the time
Sure.
they took the collection, the kids could get to the front of the church to pass the collection plate. So it was always fun going to church.
While you speak of collection, we give electronically now, so I never put anything in the collection plate anymore. What's the Altar Guild doing about collection now? Is there any change in the church happening over collection? Are we still going to collect, or we still do? I know
we still have. Well, we always have drop-ins.
Yep.
So yeah, we're
Hit 'em up.
and that's not the Altar Guild. I mean, we put the collection.
You got to be
plates out.
aware of it, though.
We had to be aware of it.
I figured you'd know more than me about it,
But I don't think it's. We don't set any policies.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
And I don't see where we would never pass a collection plate. But there are whole rows because everybody's giving electronically or giving a check once a month or something like that. But the people who are dropping in, visiting, church hunting, whatever.
Throw a little money in.
Throw
Good.
a little money in.
We can use it.
And
So then what happens to you?
I worked in Nissens until 1973, and I met my husband. He was the manager of the Worcester plant.
Ooh, another kind of in-office romance.
Yeah.
Bill and Linda Gordon, same thing last week.
Yeah, it did cost me my job.
Did it?
Eventually,
Interesting, yeah.
once they found out.
Yeah.
And we weren't totally discreet, but yeah, I had written that after I did payroll, which I supported. Then they said, we want to do accounts receivable, so I wrote from the whole accounts receivable programs for them.
Yeah.
And we did the Worcester plan. And then they said, they did the Portland plan. It was running. They said, okay, we want to do Worcester next. It was the next biggest plan. And I said, I don't want to do Worcester. Don't let me do Worcester. Worcester's terrible. And they're horrible to work with.
Yeah.
I didn't work with Joe. He was the big boss. I was working with some of his minions. They were just awful to work with. Their time cards were inaccurate. You could never, the guy that you had to call was always at the post office.
Yeah.
So I went down to Worcester with a stack of time cards, about like this, a couple weeks worth of bad time cards. And they said, okay. And I'm 26, maybe. So they put me in a room with Joe, the production manager, the guys in charge of the drivers, the judge, all the honchos at the plant, all of who have sign off on time cards, basically. And said, okay, I'm coming here. I'm going to do it, but it's not going to work. And that's exactly what I said. Mm-hmm. It's not going to work. And I handed them this pile of time cards. Every one of these time cards needed to be corrected. We had to call, and nobody could answer the phone. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we wouldn't hear back from them until 2 o'clock. The payroll had to hit the 4 o'clock truck.
Yeah.
Because if you miss payroll for the Teamsters, it's not a good thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Worcester plant was all Teamsters, inside and the road. And so I said, it's just not going to work, unless we get better quality on the time cards. Because it was complex. It was not easy to do the time cards, but they had to be right. And they were just slapping numbers,
Right.
And because they would tell you that we figured the average rate. But they had to tell us the rate, and rates went out to 4 decimal positions. I mean, it was horrible.
Crazy. Yeah.
And so it wasn't easy. So and then Joe was just standing up and pacing around. I'm shooting off my mouth, and we all went out to lunch. I matched him drink for drink, and
there you go. Where did you marry?
St. Anne's.
Everybody got married at St. Anne's, it seems.
Got married at St. Anne's. We were supposed to be outdoors at they had that lovely little outdoor chapel.
Yeah.
Squall blew through that afternoon. We ended up inside.
What was the date?
August 10th, 1979.
And it was raining like heck at that moment. Okay.
We'd had like 5 weeks of high 90s
Yeah.
and 100 degrees and stuff like that, even in Kennebunkport. And actually, I welcomed it. I really wanted to be outside. It was supposed to be a sunset. It was a 7 o'clock wedding.
Oh,
It was supposed to be sunset. The sunset that faced west.
yeah.
I mean, it's right on the water, but
Yeah.
it really faced west.
Yeah.
So it would have been just gorgeous.
Yeah.
But the squall blew through. The temperature dropped from 85 to 50,
Yeah.
and we decided to be more circumspect to be inside. So we were.
Yeah. I actually did a wedding for Jess Gagne, and she did it at Southern Maine Community College outdoors on September 26th with no plan B, and it was like 74 degrees at 4 o'clock. It was impossible what happened to the good side. And it's
Yeah.
the only time I've ever heard of that happening, because I said, Jess, this ain't going to work, but,
Yeah, I mean,
bring your slick up.
Dr. Bruner, who was the rector
Yeah.
then from Albany, called the person who was having a wedding. We had a Friday night wedding.
Yeah.
It was that had to fit around my mother's schedule at the B&B.
Yeah.
Because Sunday morning was impossible for her.
Okay.
They served. They had a B&B with the dining room open to the public.
Yeah.
And they would
So you can
serve
get
what-
married, but it's got to be Friday night, huh?
Has to be
Because
Friday
we're
night
busy
because
Sunday. Yeah.
Mom's way too busy on Sunday. So it was an evening wedding. So he called the bride for the next day, and said, "Do you think they can get the flowers over early?"
Really? You stole her flowers.
Yeah. and
Did she have good taste?
Yeah.
Oh, good. That's good.
I
That's the
didn't care.
important thing.
I didn't care.
Yeah.
I was getting married. I didn't care.
Yeah. Who cares? So then where did you and Joe live?
We lived in Webster, Massachusetts,
Okay.
right down on Lake Chagagawagabog, whatever.
Yeah.
The lake with the name, that's that one, Webster
Okay.
Lake. Yeah.
Webster Lake, yeah.
And we lived down there until he lost his job at Nissan's, because Nissan's was bought by Standard Bakery or Interstate, or
Yep.
one that owns Wonder Bread. And he lost his job.
Mm-hmm.
So he was unemployed for a couple of years.
Which years?
82, 3,
Yeah.
something like that. And he was having trouble because he was over 50. He's older than I am.
Yeah.
And he was over 50 and having trouble
Yep.
finding a job because overqualified.
Yeah.
There was a small bakery opened in Worcester, and he helped them develop their recipes, because when you work for Nissan's, even in management, you went to bakery school.
Oh, interesting.
So he knew how to make huge quantities of stuff,
Good.
and he helped them develop all their what they called them formulas. They aren't recipes; they're formulas.
Yeah.
But he helped them develop their formulas,
Yeah.
and then he still couldn't find a job, so we bought a franchise for Annie's Bookstop, and
I didn't know that was a franchise. Yep.
got Portland as our territory.
Yeah.
So we opened it we opened the day that Hannaford's opened on Forest Avenue,
On Forest Avenue.
Back Cove.
Okay, that's where you were. Yeah, I remember you and Annie's, and Back Cove.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. What day was that? Was that 90?
March 24th, 1984.
84. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
And how'd you like the book business?
Oh, it was way too
I
much
bet.
fun.
We make movies about bookstores, you know.
Oh God, it was way too much. We even had a student from USM make a movie in our store.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was kind of fun. I mean, I was there, but I wasn't part of the story. But I was just there while they were filming.
Yeah.
They would come in on like Sunday afternoons.
Oh, yeah.
When we were closed.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was fun. I mean, people can come into a bookstore. I mean, I saw it happen again and again. People would come in and they were grumpy.
Yeah.
And by the time they left, they'd either found the book they wanted or they didn't care. They were happy.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
And I didn't care if people didn't buy books.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
But once the store got to the point where we could afford it, we started going to the national conventions,
Yeah.
and they were so much fun
Yeah. Okay.
because you can meet everybody. I mean, Dr. Ruth was always at them.
Oh, no
You
kidding.
could hear her a mile away. Jane Meadows and
Yeah.
Steve Allen,
Oh, my goodness.
and she you could hear her a mile away.
Yeah.
And she was always telling people to do this and do that for him. You know, she was kind of bossy. I went by Ruth late one afternoon, and Tony Bennett was standing in there,
Oh, my goodness.
all by himself.
Went right up and said, "Hi, Tony."
I did.
Yeah.
I did. Stupid thing, I didn't get his autograph.
There you go. You could have had a Tony Bennett, but now you don't.
But the year it was in Vegas, you could hear a voice, and he was saying, "Come," and he was here. Mama Jackson has written a book. It was Michael Jackson's mother had written a book about the Jacksons.
Wow.
And you could hear this voice. It was Don King.
Oh, no kidding.
So he went over. Because, I mean, that was the point. You could hear the Vegas Convention Center was kind of small. And he went over, and he's there with Mike Tyson.
Oh, my goodness.
So I got Mike Tyson's autograph.
You did?
Well, I worked with somebody at UNM who was a big boxing fan, and I leveraged that autograph.
Yeah, I bet.
You know? I got some help on a system from him. But, so, I mean, just kind of things like that.
Yeah.
And it was at a convention I took the Jeopardy test for the first time.
Well, let's talk about Jeopardy. You were on Jeopardy.
Yes.
Let's play Jeopardy. Now, you took the test more than once.
I did. I passed both times. But more people pass than they can ever use.
Yeah.
So I passed in Las Vegas, but it was a big deal. The Jeopardy book, the first Jeopardy book had just come out. And so it was a big deal. And so those of us passed got to go to a reception with Alice Trebek and meet Alice Trebek. And they gave us all kinds of Jeopardy swag.
Nice.
And I've got a picture of Alice Trebek handing me my bag of swag.
Oh, my goodness.
But he was Joe was trying to take a picture.
Yeah.
And whatever was happening, and finally Alex Trebek says, "Just wait a minute." He says, and he posed.
Yeah.
So we actually got a really posed picture of
Yep.
me getting my swag.
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Yeah.
But then they had the test in Portland the following year.
Yeah.
And I passed in Portland, and that's when I got to go.
How did you get the call?
Phone?
They called you?
Yeah.
And where did you go for the taping?
Hollywood.
Now, do they pay for you to go to Hollywood?
Hell no.
No, you're on your own.
You're
Yeah.
on your own.
Yeah. And so you get out there, and how many episodes do they tape in a day?
They tape 5 shows a day.
And which day were you?
I was on the second day.
Okay, so
They tape 5 shows a day. They tape 2 days a week.
oh,
So you go not knowing when in those 2 days
Yeah.
you're going to get called.
Yeah.
You will get called because they know how many they need. And the way they do that is, in general, they do the people who are from further away on the first day. So if you
No
get
kidding. Yeah.
called over
Yeah.
on a
you
second,
win. Yeah,
you don't have to come up, fly from Maine to California
that's a
again.
good point. Yeah.
But wasn't taped until Tuesday.
Yeah. And who were you up against?
I was up against the woman who became a 5-time winner.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I know how you did. How'd you do?
came in second.
Yeah.
And those were the days when you got prizes.
What was your prize?
A trip to the Bahamas.
Was it a good trip?
It was a wonderful trip.
No kidding. Yeah.
It was a lovely resort. Meals were included.
Yeah.
They only had breakfast and dinner, but
Yeah.
meals were included. It had everything. It had a beach. It had a pool. It had all this stuff. So instead of paying for food and stuff like that, we did things like I went parasailing.
Nice.
Yeah, and I actually bought serious souvenirs like cute little dresses for the granddaughters.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
it's stuff sprung for more stuff than we would have ordinarily.
How many grandchildren? How many children do you have?
I have one stepdaughter
Okay.
and 3 granddaughters.
3 granddaughters.
and
Yeah.
2 great grandsons.
And where are they?
Patty and Rick, my stepdaughter, they're in Virginia. One of the granddaughters is in Virginia. The other 2, and the one that has children is in Virginia. The other 2 are in Denver.
Nice. Nice. And on Jeopardy, did you have a super answer? I mean, is there one thing that you pulled out of your hat that you thought that's pretty smart?
No, what happened is I got afraid to answer.
Really?
Which was totally stupid because I think I know I would have done better.
Yeah. One of the things I'm most ashamed of is I got on So You Think You Know Maine with Angus King. I'm clubbing him. Through the first 2 rounds, I'm ahead quite a bit, 80 to 40. And then you get into the 3rd round, and if you answer incorrectly, they subtract it from your score.
Oh,
And so I'm
well,
thinking,
that's what happens.
I'm thinking the only way I can lose is if I answer wrongly, so I'm not going to answer. Angus bangs off the next question. I'm thinking, I better sit up here. The next question, I think, was the only question on the show that I'd never... What was the name of the flying Santa? I later did I still don't know his name.
Edward Rose Snow.
No, didn't he write?
He did, but he also was the playing singer.
Okay. So now it's tied. I don't know, somehow he slips in front of me by 10 points. We get into the magic round at the end where you just answer. And if you just ring the bell, you're not penalized. And he kind of played rope-a-dope and beat me by like 10. I'm so ashamed.
Well, that was it. That was it.
ashamed.
And I was just, I got,
Yeah.
and there was stuff I knew.
I've often thought that if you can win one, the more you can win, the more your advantage is because you're more comfortable on that stage.
Absolutely.
You're more comfortable playing the game.
Yeah, and the buzzer is funny.
Tell me about that.
You know, they say practice with a ballpoint pen, but the thing with the ballpoint pen is it pops back up.
Yeah.
The buzzer does not.
Oh.
It's just a loose thingy.
Yeah.
So it doesn't pop, so there's no feedback.
Yeah. And when can you ring in?
You shouldn't ring on, and you can't ring in until after he has
Finished
said the finest
talking?
syllable.
Does a light come on?
No.
So you're waiting for that last syllable to hit that.
And if you touch, and this is why you see them doing
It's a 5-second reset.
if you answer before he's finished speaking, you shut out
Yeah.
for
5, I think.
I don't know.
But that's an eternity on Jeopardy.
Yeah.
You know, you might not even be able to ring in if the first guy misses. You know, like you go like this, and you know, what's Peter Pan? No, I'm sorry, you can't ring in again because
No.
if you hit it early. So
Yeah, you can ring in again, but you have to wait till you know.
you got to wait 5 seconds, and sometimes that first answer isn't even 5 seconds. So it really does block you out for.
It blocks you off for too long.
Yeah. So interesting. So you were running Annie, but you were working at Unum's and you owned Annie's at the same time.
Yeah, it was Joe's. It was theoretically Joe's store.
Yeah.
And he worked it most of the time.
Yeah.
Especially before we could afford to hire employees.
Yeah.
I closed a couple nights a week. I worked Saturdays.
Yeah.
And then we started working Sunday. No, we never worked Sunday. We always had somebody to work Sunday.
Yeah.
We didn't open for Sunday until we could actually pay somebody.
Why did you come to Trinity? It was near the store.
No, it's also near our home.
Yeah.
We were Christmas, Easter
Yeah.
church people. Joe was raised Catholic.
Yeah.
And he never went to church. We would do Christmas and Easter, and we bounced back and forth. It was mostly St. Peter's or here,
Yeah.
and sometimes the cathedral, depending upon how it fit our schedule, how it fit the store schedule for Christmas Eve and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know, which one would fit better, whose
Yeah.
service was later, whose service was earlier. And we came we actually came one Christmas Day here. And you know, it was fine. And then we kind of liked Larry.
Yeah.
And then Joe died. Yeah. And I had to have a funeral.
Yeah.
And his family would never have spoken to me again if I hadn't. You know.
Yeah.
And I picked here,
Yeah. And what year was that?
2011.
2011. Okay.
And that was, he died on a Monday. I think the funeral was on Thursday because Friday was April Fool's Day, and I was not going to bury him on April Fool's Day.
Good point.
And it was March, but we still did the whole thing I wasn't going to do. So I paid extra to have him open a grave in the middle of the winter.
Oh,
But,
okay.
yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway, he's buried down in Kennebunkport. But so I came, and then the following Sunday, I had this urge to come to church. So I came in here for the 8 o'clock, and I was sitting here because I didn't go from the chapel. And I'm sitting here, and Debbie came and got me in there.
Yeah.
It was a breakfast Sunday.
Oh, no kidding.
Debbie bought me breakfast, and I've been coming ever since.
Good. We're glad you do.
Yeah.
And you do so much for the church, and you're such an integral member. So it's
Yeah.
terrific.
I tried, I've been on vestry and I'm
Yeah.
on altar guild, but I tried to do stuff that isn't a regular commitment right now
Yeah.
because I'm traveling
Yeah.
and I want to be able to just pick up and go. And I almost missed the Christmas fair one year. I did miss the guide sale last year,
Yeah.
and I feel so,
Well,
so
don't
guilty
let
about that.
don't let them guilt you into it. I've missed some of those things, and if it works, it works, and if it doesn't, it doesn't. But
Yeah, well, you know, it was the Christmas markets on the Rhine.
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. Exactly. So where you going soon? You going anywhere?
Japan.
When?
April 7th. I'm leaving. I'm leaving Good Friday morning.
Oh, no kidding.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah. So we're flying to Tokyo, and then we're going to circumnavigate Japan back to Tokyo.
Wow.
We'll spend a day in Tokyo. We're going to go to Vogue magazine's offices, in the Tokyo Vogue magazine's offices, and have a tour there. Then we stay on the boat, and we're going to go across the North Pacific.
Oh, wow.
And come down, go to Ketchikan, Sitka, and
How long will you be gone?
4 weeks.
Wow.
And we fly home from Seattle.
Spectacular.
It's the longest trip I've ever taken. I will be.
Well, there aren't many trips longer than that, so I'm not surprised.
Well, I did 3 weeks once, but yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's fabulous. So what, are you on a particular line or?
I travel mostly Holland, America.
Yeah?
Well, 6 or 7 cruises. This will be my 7th craft cruise.
Okay.
And it's knitters.
Oh, no kidding.
And so they have special tours.
Yeah.
So when we get to a port, they'll have something other than the tours for the regular Holland America passengers.
Yeah.
So I've worked with Women's Co-op in South America.
Yeah.
I've gone to a yarn factory and dyed my own wool.
Oh, cool.
Gone to little sheep farms in the Isle of Skye. You know,
Yeah.
you know, gotten into designers' workshops and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it's fun.
Super. Enjoy.
I will.
We will miss you in the month of April. My guest has been Alice Moisen, another exciting Episcopalian, fascinating life that she's lived, and it continues, it sounds like to me, and it's just great. It's great going to church with you, and I
Thank you.
appreciate all you do, especially you left out the stream team. Alice is also on the stream team, which brings you the services alive wherever you are in the world, so tune in from Japan.
If I decide to get the internet.
Maybe
on the boat.
get the replay or something. All right. Thank you for joining us. Join us next week when we meet another exciting Episcopalian.